just some birds and getting whacked. If I had Newtons of force, oh my, that's what you get for holding in your pee.
Welcome to Can We Talk About, a weekly podcast where we dive into discussions on varying topics and find ourselves in different waters than where we started. I'm CatEaterr, my co-host is Johnny 5. Today we discuss how I flubbed this episode, what the hell a Kremlin is, and how many gallons 4 pounds of pee is. You can email us at cwtabout@gmail.com, and we hope you enjoy the show. All right.
What you got?
First thing I did was throw shit on the table and make it loud. Okay. So, man, I don't even know, where did we leave off? Hang on.
Well, let me see.
Why don't you give me a synopsis of what last episode was about?
Okay, so the last thing, let's just see. There was a series of people, all right? I don't remember. I feel like the first guy of the four that I can kind of think of, there was like Ivan the Great, and that's like the oldest out of the fucking line. There was Vasily, the cross-eyed, and then some shit went down with him and his brother or uncle, somebody. They kept going back and forth with like who was gonna be the dude, and they essentially, whoever took over at that point was like, all right, well, you're banished. Also take his eyes and send him to this place that wasn't as bad as the other place or something like that, but he ended up still coming back, even though he was blind, being like, fuck you. So, I think he had a kid that was Ivan the Great. And then, it's coming back. So, yeah, Ivan the Great was fucking cool. He did some shit. He made, what's, like, the Kremlin or something like that, like, the structure. And then a bunch of other stuff. After him, there was Vasily, whatever the fuck, the Adequate, and he was like kind of alright, not too bad, but yeah, not really that great. And then his son was Ivan the Terrible, and he was terrible. He was just fucking shit. He ended up having his bodyguard that, like, you know, human shield, turned into Igor. He was like, yes! And yeah, I don't really know what happened after that, but that's kind of... There was a lot of shit that I didn't really cover in there. I remember the Golden Horde being a thing, and the Khans, and like, Rus was the name of the place before it was actually Rus, and also Moscow was not the beginning. That was not the first place to be capital. It was somewhere else.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Mongols came in, jacked things up. Novgorod was where everything started for us.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his name.
And then, but yeah, so that's not too bad of a pickup, I suppose. But we left off with Ivan the Terrible's son, Fyodor the Bellringer. And some people say that he might have been mentally handicapped.
Okay. How so? Like, was he just like...
Well, there's not a whole lot of information on that, but he didn't do a whole lot. He had somebody else pretty much run shit while he was doing everything.
Well, that's good.
And then he just was very religious, and that's what his jive was. So, but he didn't have any kids, and there were no other heirs because all his other brothers got gotten killed. So,
oh no,
or died or whatever. So he was the only one, and when he died, that kind of put an end to the Rurikid
You got this.
Rurikid dynasty, the family for the family line they had been going down.
Right.
So his wife's brother, his brother-in-law, Boris Godunov, steps in.
Godunov.
And the numbers here are a bit funky, but this is what I'm going with. Encyclopedia Britannica says different numbers than Wikipedia and History did.
Oh, well, that's great.
So, right, and 2 versus 1, but I trust Encyclopedia Britannica, so I don't know, it's kind of a weird mix of numbers, but here's the final numbers that I'm going with. From 1585 to 1598, he was regent, which means he's kind of like controlling stuff, but he's not a czar. He's not the king, he's just helping run things. And then from 1598 to 1605, he was a legitimate czar that had been voted in.
Okay.
This is when the time of troubles begin.
Oh, no.
And it's rough.
How rough?
It's pretty rough. So, I mean, we're talking... Well, first and foremost, let's go ahead and take one note. Do you remember Bogdan Belsky? And that was his Igor guy, his best friend.
Yes.
Ivan the Terribles. And how he trusted his youngest son, Dmitri, to him. And was like, take care of him. Okay. Well, I don't really know what happened to Bogdan. History doesn't care, it seems.
Oh,
but
okay.
His son, the Ivan's son, dies. And his mom is yelling around town about how Boris's agents...
That's right, yeah. His son... are we talking about the son that he just, like, was rage yelling at?
No, not the one he killed. So
okay.
He had... There was 2 sons that were still alive when he died. And one was Theodore the Bellringer, and the other one, like, wasn't really seen as legitimate because it was with his last wife, and... I don't know.
Oh, God forbid.
Yeah. So he just wasn't, he didn't really, they didn't see him as having claim to the throne so much, but as soon as, there were no other Rurik families, members to be taken the throne, everybody's like, what's up with Dmitri?
Right.
And then Dmitri dies.
Whoa.
So his mom's yelling around that Boris is Godunov, that his agents were the ones that killed him. And the people are also automatically, they're like, this was an assassination. Like, there's public outcry about it.
Right.
And so due to that, Boris commissions an investigation into Dmitri's death. So he sends, a team of dudes over to Olgik where they were and was like, okay, so what happened here? How did he die? And officially, Dmitri, killed himself by accidentally slitting his own throat while he was shaving during an epileptic seizure.
Right.
Or while playing with a knife and having an epileptic seizure, depending on which story you go with. Both are totally acceptable.
I like the latter.
Right. So that's fun. Meanwhile, it gets so much better. Are you ready? This is the thing. I've been waiting all week to tell you this. So, in small old towns like that, they have church bells, and they ring when people die.
Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, the church bells ringing because Dmitri died, and the people are already really mad about this. And so this just, like, fills them with rage, and they're, like, almost rioting in the streets. So, Boris is like, I know what I'm gonna do. Get the fucking bell out. So they take the bell out of the church tower. They take its clapper, which is the part that goes ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling.
Yeah.
And then they publicly flog it in the square. The bell.
Flog. Explain real quick.
Whip it.
Okay.
Yeah. So they publicly whip the bell in town square. And then they banish the bell to Siberia. Be gone with you.
That's like a giant scapegoat. That's literally, it's not even a goat.
Yeah, man. Inanimate object. Cut out its tongue. Whip it in the street.
That is...
Send it to Siberia.
Why did they have to...
Isn't it beautiful?
Oh my gosh, I really love that. Oh my god. This bell has fucked over this guy.
You've pissed everyone off. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot to note from Boris's reign. He didn't start a lot of stuff. He settled some more of Siberia, which is also funny to me. He's banishing things to Siberia, but then he's also like, Siberia, great place to live. Go. But so he settled more of Siberia. He encouraged trade. He never directly involved Russia in any war, but he did influence war fronts, funding, sending things, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Influencing it the way he wanted without directly putting Russia at fault for anything.
It's like the Rob Gronkowski.
Dude. Gronk. Okay. But while he was playing house, busy pretending that he was a leader and all of that, famine hit the country. 1601 to 1603, Russia's worst famine.
How is this famine the worst?
They lost 30% of the populace. Roughly 2 million people died because of the famine. Just gone.
Like within months? Or
Within those 2 years, 30% of the populace died.
Fuck, wow. Okay, sorry, I was like in my head, I was thinking like, okay, Black Plague, like that's normal, who gives a shit? But no, that's a famine.
Yeah, man.
Like, what the fuck do they eat?
Well, I know Irish people eat potatoes, right?
Yes. Everybody eats...
I'm just kidding. I think the potatoes were actually what the famine was of. But anyways.
Aha.
I don't know. Not much. Not much. Turnips? Borscht. Borscht. We're offending a lot of people.
That's okay.
But, yeah, lots of people dead. Not a lot of food. It's not good.
How did it happen?
Well, so they've had some research done on it, and I didn't take note of which volcano it was, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Right. But there were two things that they believe caused the famine, because it wasn't just in Russia. The famine kind of hit in a lot of places. The first one was that there was crop disruption from a volcanic eruption in South America that, like, just ashed the entire planet. It was huge.
Isn't that a good thing though? I thought that like ash like helps shit grow eventually, doesn't it? Or maybe I'm thinking of like trees and shit like that.
Yeah, so like you can, weird that I know this information, but you can sprinkle ash to change pH levels and things like that in soil.
Okay.
However, when it's stuck in the sky for weeks and months at a time, there's no sunlight, it's ruining the air, it's ruining the water, so it's not good.
Right.
When it comes from a volcano in the sky like that.
That's fair.
Also, there were record cold winters worldwide leading up to 1601.
Okay.
So already crops were kind of getting wrecked, and then on top of that, things were being frozen too long, or they were having frost too long, or it got too cold, and things that normally they could grow still in the middle of winter got destroyed. So between those two things, yeah, just no food for anybody. It was awful. And then, of course, there's also a lot of Civil War-esque things happening during this time because there's so much leader turnover. The end of a dynasty marks, well, who's going to be in charge then? And so Boris is like, well, it's definitely me. But then people come in saying that they're Dmitri and that Dmitri didn't actually die. They're coming in and saying, oh, we're related to him in different ways, to Ivan in different ways. We're related to Fyodor. Like, people from other countries are coming in and, like, insurgencing people that they're pretending have a right to the throne so that they can put control over. Like, Sweden has people in there that they're trying to put on the throne.
Right.
Other countries, coups almost in that way. So there's a bunch of Civil War stuff going on because of that. Then, amidst the famine and the leadership instability and an undeclared civil war, because nowhere that I saw did Russia actually say that they had a civil war there. It's like other people that have researched the stuff are like, that was a civil war.
Yeah, there was like a lot of death that was just amongst themselves, right, in this little spot.
Yeah, and like raging different groups inside of the country, you know.
Right.
So I decided that it's an undeclared civil war.
I like that.
Yeah, so amidst all of those things, in 1605, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth invaded and occupied Russia until 1612, and Sweden also came in and occupied portions of Russia during that time.
Oh, wow, Sweden actually doing some shit.
Yeah, they came in and scored some shit, man, I tell you what. Boris died of a stroke. Another stroke. Good stuff. And a few months later, his surviving son and widow were murdered by enemies of the Godunovs, which, I've searched high and low, could not find an explanation of who those were or what that was, but based on my overall understanding, it's clearly a group of people that were like, these people also don't deserve to be in power. Right. And so they just took them out. Then...
Well, that's good.
Yes. Then they called the Zemsky Sobor, which unanimously elected Michael Romanov in 1613.
What is Zemsky Sobor?
That's beautiful. Love it. So Zemsky Sobor, which, by the way, I've actually spent some time figuring out how to properly pronounce some things.
That's what?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is how you say it based on my internet searches. So, Zemsky Sobor directly translates to Assembly of the Land, and it was a parliament or senate or, a gathering. It included nobles, members of the clergy, so the Orthodox Church, and representatives of commoners, which was kind of a mix between merchants and townspeople. And it basically was kind of like oh shit, big things are happening, let's assemble a bunch of people and decide what to do. This wasn't the only time that they had done the Zemsky Sobor. It kind of been around for a little while, and it's around for another 80 years, but that's what it was. So it was a panel of people that come together to make big decisions for the country when it needs to happen.
Okay.
So they unanimously elect Michael Romanov in 1613, and thus begins the Romanov dynasty. Yay, we're here.
Cool. Fuck yeah.
Yes. So once this decision was made, they took the false Dmitri that was currently on the throne and dethroned him. They hung his 3-year-old son, and his wife was strangled in prison.
False Dmitri.
Yeah, so false Dimitris were what they called people that kept trying to step into the throne and say that they were Dmitri, Fyodor's brother, that got killed.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So that's almost like from the Anastasia movie, how people would come up and be like, I'm Anastasia. I'm Anastasia.
I'm Anastasia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of a thing.
Okay.
And so they just called them, all of them. They literally, if you try and go through the secession, which is really messy and difficult to do, and is really spotty in that time.
Yeah.
There's false Dmitri 1, false Dmitri 2. Like, that's how they're even named. Like, they're like, we don't even know. Fuck them.
Damn.
Back to Michael. So, he signed some treaties to end the wars and invasions from Sweden and Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. They conceded a lot of territory, but it wasn't great.
Oh, okay. So, what did the treaties entail?
So, the first treaty was with the Polish and Lithuanian Commonwealth, and it was called the Truce of Duelino.
Fuck yeah, dude.
You and I discussed this a little bit, just because I couldn't help myself.
Right.
It was set for a duration of 14 and a half years. It stopped the hostilities for that amount of time. However, at the end of 14 and a half years, hostilities picked right back up. Until,
well, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right. They have to.
Yeah. They were sitting there waiting the clock out. Until the Treaty of Polanau in 1634, and then the Treaty of Solbovo, which ended the war with Sweden. Russia renounced all claims to Estonia and Livonia. You don't remember Livonia, do you?
I remember the name. I don't remember what the fuck Livonia was.
It's been a territory that they keep trying to grab.
Hold on. That's the one where it's like the Middle East, where they're like fucking... Is that it?
Well, it's not Middle East, but you could... Oh, like the Middle East.
Yes, yeah, where there's just a bunch of people that are in there. Although you said that it was... The reason why was because it was a port.
Yes.
And that's why the Russians were there. And everybody else was like, no, you're big. You're huge. Like, you don't need more land.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. No, yes. I remember that shit. I just couldn't remember the fuck. Like I said, there were bits and pieces, but I was like kind of...
There was a lot of information.
I put up a paper mache dollhouse.
Yeah. So, they had to give up Livonia to Sweden. And then they also had to pay 20,000 rubles in, like, war something or other. I don't really know.
20,000 rubles.
Yep.
It's like 10,000 flogels.
And then in the treaty with Sweden, they gave back Novgorod and other territories to Russia.
All right.
Also, Russia's trade was allowed again, because they were, like, tariffed and cut off and all of that jazz. And then... So they let them do free trade again, and then both countries established merchant houses, which seemed to be like trade hubs in each other's major cities.
Oh, okay.
So, like, Stockholm got a Russian merchant house, and then Moscow got a Swedish one, that kind of a thing. So,
sweet.
Yeah. I think it worked out pretty well for everybody involved. And then, so he signed those treaties and everything like that. After signing the treaties and everything... eventually, over the next few decades, they are able to gain most of that territory back.
Russia, that is?
Yes. In case you were worried about it, Russia does get most of it back.
Good.
Yeah. By the end of his reign, they conquered most of Siberia, and then Russia also extended its territory to the Pacific Ocean.
Hey!
So they are coast to coast, almost. Largest territorial expansion in Russian history was under Michael. So lots of territory getting picked up.
Fuck yeah, Michael.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Michael had 10 kids. 4 of them survived to adulthood. And then in his last few couple of years, he got scurvy and dropsy and depression. And in 1645, he died after fainting in church. He was succeeded... Listen, they are nothing if not pious.
Yeah.
He was succeeded by his son, Alexei the Quietist. He aimed for peaceful foreign policy. He used treaties. He limited bureaucracy.
He didn't yell about it.
Yeah, didn't yell about it. He's real quiet. And he reformed the military. And
like by reform, do you just mean like he just basically gave it structure? Just
more structure than it had. Yeah.
Okay,
so
cool.
We're talking like sergeants and
like actual
captains. And that
yeah.
kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
There was a hierarchy installed.
Not just get your pitchforks. Let's go outside.
You're in charge today.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. So added some structure to it, which was a big deal. And then another fun thing was that his close advisor was accused of witchcraft and sorcery.
Witchcraft?
Oh yeah. It's not as juicy as Rasputin, which is unfortunate. I see nothing about him being a badass like him, but he did do things that pissed people off. He raised taxes. He made a lot of moves that helped himself rather than the people. And I think witchcraft is just a really easy accusation to throw.
Yeah.
Witchcraft. Right.
Sorcerer.
Yeah, exactly right.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. So, a little unfortunate that there's not actually any witchcraft or sorcery there that I could find, but, we get it later.
It's with the belief. I feel like it just goes with the belief.
For real, yeah, 100%.
It's much more fun to believe it happened.
If you're a bad person, you must be a witch.
Hell yeah, dude.
And then the English also ended up going into utter chaos at this point in time.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, so the English Civil War started.
Good.
Which kind of kicked off by the beheading of their public ruler Charles the First.
Ooh, okay, that's maybe not so cool.
Just walked up and beheaded him. But so he responded to the English Civil War by breaking off diplomatic ties with England, accepting royalist refugees, so people that were like, no, that family should definitely be in charge.
Right.
Got to come into Russia for refuge.
Wow, it's like it's like what America aspires to be.
Yeah.
Is a place where you can come if your whole place just went to shit.
Yeah, that's supposed to be the whole deal.
Right. That's cool. That's fun. Fucking Russia was doing that shit way before us.
They did, however, also ban all trade from England, which included banishing all the merchants from Russia that were English. So that was a little...
I mean, but that's pretty American too, though.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is it right here. This is the why Russia, because they're our big brother, and everybody hates their big brother until they're also a grown-up.
Wow. Yeah.
Always jealous of your older siblings,
Yep.
He also did a huge reform in the church. Listen,
how so?
To somebody who's not particularly religious, this seems like such not a big deal to me, but it's such a big deal. So this reform created a rift that exists to this day. It's a split that happened in the Eastern Orthodox Church that has not been repaired. There are two different factions.
I would love to interview both sides.
Dude, right. So they wanted to bring Russian Orthodoxy Church closer to how the Greek Orthodox Church did things.
All right.
And mainly this involved one big change, and that was using 3 fingers and making the sign of the cross instead of 2.
Sign of the cross. Is that the 4 points?
So that's what I thought it was. I ended up having to do some research on this, and I'm glad it's a question, because I spent some time on it.
Alright.
The one with the 4 points where you go over your chest and stuff like that, did you know that you're supposed to say something while you do that?
I did. I know that they muttered some shit, and that's why when I was like...
Blah, 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 blah.
When we did the game, yeah.
So,
I realize that listeners aren't going to know what the fuck that is, but I don't give a fuck.
When we become famous and they want to know all about our lives, we can tell them about that, and then they'll feel good when they come back and re-listen to episodes like us weirdos do, and they'll know what the hell you're talking about, and they'll be like, I'm special.
I heard it right there.
I know what that is.
Yeah.
Sign of the Cross for the Orthodox Church and not Catholicism is putting your pointer finger and your thumb together kind of in a mild circle and then putting the rest of your fingers into your palm.
Okay.
This is the sign of the cross in the old way, the Eastern Orthodox way. But the Greek Orthodox way, here's where everything goes crazy. Are you ready?
Real quick, the thing that you're showing me right now is like the how do I reach these keys?
Oh my gosh. I knew you were going to have a reference for this hand motion.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew you were going to have something to say about it. Are you ready for the big change that created a rift in Russia that has existed for...
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
What, 400 years?
Oh, the snapping motion. We're going from... Okay, we're going into... I don't know that. I've never seen it, so that's a problem. But it's the fucking... When they're, like, doing... Oh, God. Like, the Animaniacs did a whole thing on it where it's, like, just some birds and getting whacked and, like, all that kind of shit. And there's, like... Basically, there's, like, a love life or a love thing that's going on. They
What
can't
the
date.
fuck are you
No,
talking
I'm
about?
so sorry. It's so old. It's an old movie. Everybody who knows this shit is just yelling at me right now because I did not explain it well, and it's it's just a thing. When I find out, I'm gonna bring it to you, and you're gonna be like, oh yeah. Like I swear to God, if I talk to Juan right now, he'd be like, oh yeah.
Oh, Juan would know. He's a cinephile. Yeah. But so
You're getting ready to snap. That's what I'm saying.
I got you.
You got the 2 fingers instead of just the 1.
Yeah, so it's pointer finger and middle finger to your thumb with the other 2 fingers pressed to your palm. And that created
a rift.
Ununifiable rift.
Fuck yeah, that's metal.
In the church. Yeah, man. So the split in the church created the Old Believers movement, which is a thing. I don't know. It happens when there's some other stuff that happens later. There's like Old Believers that support certain things, so then that group matters a whole lot.
Yes.
All right, so next in line, we have Fyodor III. And we start walking into let's learn things and bring other countries to influence our country. Like, that's where we're getting with the Romanovs. They do a lot of this over this amount of time.
Yeah.
So Fyodor...
Like, basically developing culture based on what everybody else is kind of liking and shit.
Yeah, and they're still following the whole thought process of becoming Third Rome. They want to be... They want to be the center of culture.
Exactly, yeah. It seems like they're almost going from, okay, rather than just getting, like, our local shit together, we want to be able to, like, get the world on our shit.
100. So, Fyodor III knew Polish and Latin, which he was very proud of knowing Latin. And then, of course, he knew Russian as well. So, that technically makes him a polyglot.
All right.
The company that he kept brought a distinct Polish influence into the courts. Their dress changed. They started saying, you know what, let's shave our beards, which was a big deal.
Right.
And then he also abolished the mesnichismo, which I looked up how to pronounce, and I should be saying that correctly.
Applause break.
The mesnichismo is a complicated system which is used to establish which royals can hold which positions. Like this weird hierarchy, brackets. If you're a cousin of this and that and the other thing, then you can kind of run these 3 different positions are your options. And, aristocrats would die before they took a position lower than the mesnichismo said that they could or dictated that they could.
Yeah.
So it caused a lot of unnecessary violence in the courts, and powerful positions would now be given... Oh, man. Now I fucked it up enough, you'll have to edit anyways. What?
That's alright. I finally found the reference that I was looking for.
What is it?
It was from The Godfather.
Wow, okay. So, yeah.
I think.
Alright, probably.
And I might be wrong, but it said good feathers, and basically somebody getting whacked and fucking, like, all that kind of stuff.
I hear the accents in my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's pigeons?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I get what you're saying.
I'm pretty sure it's that one, but I don't know, it felt like it was a different one where it's literally like 2 gangs. West Side Pigeons, that's it. West Side something or other. But basically,
West Side Story.
Yes, West Side Story, that's it, yeah. That's the one I was thinking of.
Oh, we got there.
Yeah.
You got us there. I'm so proud of you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm totally derailed.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. So, with him making the big change to that and abolishing it, basically it meant now that powerful positions would now be given based on merit and what everybody else within the royal courts wanted.
Like it should be.
And the pedigree books were destroyed. So everything saying, you're born of this person, of this person, of this person.
Oh, this is the same shit that the other guy did.
Yeah, so this is the first guy to do it.
Oh.
There's another guy later that does it too, I think. Unless this is that guy, I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of names that are the same.
That's okay.
We're already on our 2nd or 3rd Fyodor, so,
right.
I don't know. I think I'm on my 2nd Alexei about to be right now, so... dude, I don't even know.
He's a trendsetter. But honestly, it's just a good idea. Like, if you're taking over like a whole set of government, and you're like, you know, I really don't want to lose this, and I also want people to be on my shit. I'm just gonna get rid of everything that was about the guy that was right before me.
Oh yeah, and then we can just pretend, you know, that everything's fine.
Right, because pretending is like a whole branch of the government.
Right, exactly right. Especially when you're doing pseudo-history.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so Fyodor's first expected heir died at 10 days old, and his first wife died in childbirth, and his second wife has a portrait of her. What you got? Oh, people dying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
sad.
I forget that, like, that, we just take that for granted now.
Yeah.
Like, that shit, literally, like, I think in the 40s or something, whenever modern medicine became a thing, it's just recent. Back then, it was like you had to have 8 kids in order to have 2.
Oh, yeah, well, so, like Michael, he had 10 kids, only 4 of them made it.
Yeah, I see, when you said that, in my head, I was like, wait, he had 2 kids and 4 of them made it? That's because that's
10.
what I heard.
Yeah.
God damn, okay.
10. Let me, enunciate a little better for you there.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, he had 10 children and 4 survived.
That's fucking rough.
And a lot of these czars have like 14 wives because after they have a kid they die, or somebody doesn't like them and they get sent to be a nun, or, you know. But a lot of them are dying while they're having babies that also die.
And that's like a thing that you just had to live with, too.
Yeah,
like,
well, and that's even for the royalty.
Yeah, exactly. Like, everybody already knew, like, oh, your wife died, or she's gone, or something like that. You just had to deal with that. Like, everybody had that emotion and knew it, but you just didn't bring it up, you know what I mean? Like, everybody just kind of went through it on their own.
It was part of life. It was like watching the news.
Yep.
How many people died today? So, anyway, he died with no heirs, and it sparked the Moscow Uprising of 1682, and it was basically a Hatfields and McCoys kind of thing. There was 2 different families that were kind of battling over whether or not they had any rights to the throne because they were related to the 2 wives that he had had and that kind of a thing.
All right.
It was the Narishkin family and the Miloslavsky family.
I'm sorry, I just looked up that picture of the fucking...
Isn't she great?
I love it. I love the fucking cat. It is like just the size of her hand.
Yeah, like she's like, I don't want just a cat, I need a fresh kitten sitting here in my lap for this picture.
God damn it.
Love it. Oh, it's so good. Alright, I've butchered some things this episode. The name that you're going to be looking up if you want to see the lady with a cat is Marfa Apraxina. She's actually Fyodor's wife, not Alexei's. I messed some things up. Just enjoy the ride. It's so good. So the Narishkins put a nephew of one of his wives on the throne. This is all like really mushed up, and I was limited on my sites. I'll cite my sources at the end.
That's alright.
Anyways. So the Narishkins put the nephew of one of his wives on the throne. And then the Miloslavskis are all pissed off that they did that. So they stirred up riots in the street, which overtook the Kremlin and lynched a bunch of nobles and commanding military officers that the people thought were corrupt.
Okay, so what exactly is the Kremlin at this point?
So, we've talked about it a couple times, and it's kind of one of those things where I was just like, oh, it's like comparable to the White House or something. You know, it's not. It's different than I thought it was. So, it likely is for you as well.
Is it like the... Because I always thought of it, if I were to guess, like in my head, I think of it as like the FBI equivalent.
No, it really is illustrating a lack of understanding here because we both thought it was 2 completely different things, and we thought it was, like government sanction. I don't know.
Oh, I guess that's the KGB that I'm thinking of. Never mind.
Well,
yeah. But isn't that the Kremlin is the KGB, isn't it?
It is not. The Kremlin is, well, there's the Kremlin, and then there are Kremlins. So, there's more than one Kremlin in Russia.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, so they're Russian citadels. They're highly protected complexes. Kind of like the inner walls of Ba Sing Se.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. There are Kremlins in, I think they said that there was one in St. Petersburg and one in, oh my gosh, Udanov? Is that what it's called?
So wait, so is that just a legit replica then? The writers of Avatar were just like, we're just gonna put Russia into this story that we're doing.
Maybe. I mean, maybe they got the idea from Eastern society.
That's cool.
Maybe, I don't know where they got it from, or maybe that's just how older civilizations did it because it was the smart way to do it.
I'm not entirely
sure.
That's just cool.
But yeah, so there's more than one, but usually when somebody says that they take over the Kremlin, they are referencing the Kremlin.
Yeah,
and that's
that particular
the Moscow
one.
Kremlin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's like the one. So if somebody isn't referencing a city before they say the Kremlin, they're talking about capital T, capital A, the Kremlin in Moscow.
Aha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not a building, it's an inner city, like Bossing say. It's a whole complex, there's buildings for people to live in and that kind of thing. So when they're saying that they overrun and took the Kremlin, they made it into the inner neighborhood and were wreaking havoc inside of there, not just a building.
Okay.
Which totally changed my whole color for so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so, yeah, they're running amok in the nice neighborhood, basically. Killing all the military officers and stuff, and nobles. And then a week later, they came in again and did it. And they killed a couple of the Narishkin family members, which was, as a reminder, because it's been a couple of minutes, the Narishkin family members are like the Hatfields. Well, maybe I shouldn't compare them with specific names at this point, because I don't actually know the Hatfields and McCoy story. But so the Narishkins were ones that wanted part of the throne, and they put their nephew up there. And then the Miloslavskis were like, fuck you, we're starting the riots. So on the second riot that comes in, they end up taking out some Narishkins.
I would say, I don't know her name, which is kind of unfortunate, but it would be the same as the French Revolution, where, like I said, I don't remember her name, but she gets beheaded.
Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, there it is. That's the one. So she gets beheaded and just like, what?
I'm just moving past it. We'll do it another day.
I've gone through that. There's like what was it? I think either last podcast did that,
It was You're
Wrong About. Yeah, there was like 2 different episodes that I listened to that had that. But yeah.
No, I'm not mad at you. I just revisiting her has emotionally put me in a place.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I got you. I was like, I didn't want to.
No.
I didn't mean to.
Fuckers.
I just yeah. But I remember. Yeah, the philosophy podcast talked a little bit about it, and it was just like. Basically, these 2 different ideas that are coming up, and like for the French Revolution, you know what? We'll get into France.
Yeah,
we'll leave France to France.
Yeah, we'll deal with France at some point, I'm sure.
But yeah, I would equate it to that.
Yeah,
2 different ideas of thought. I want a revolution. I want to stay with the king. That kind of thing.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Yeah, they were like, no, we want this, and it stirred a bunch of shit up, but things eventually got under control. And Tsar Peter the Great, Peter the First, came into power. He shared power with his brother for the first few years of his reign. He led a few wars, which Russia won, and this expanded Russia and deemed it a major European power in 1725, which is like the year his reign ended. But yeah, still good stuff. He captured some ports, so finally they've got ports on the west coast of Russia. They finally got some coastal stuff.
Good.
So they got ports in Azov, I don't know,
Azov,
and the Baltic Sea, which led to the development of the Russian Navy.
Hey.
Yeah.
And they got that fucking. They got the kid the medicine that they needed.
Yeah.
With Balto or whatever.
Balto, yes. He also changed the way that the military ranking worked, because the last time that it got changed around, it was based on birth. So it was still like a nobility kind of thing almost.
Right.
Not based on if you're actually good at leading people or fighting. So he made it so that instead of being born into your positions in the military, it was now done by merit and service to the emperor.
Yay!
And I thought it was funny that they said service to the emperor because they're still calling themselves czars and czarinas. But I don't know.
Maybe they thought that czar was like it's less effort to say than emperor, so it's like less.
That's true.
Self-rising, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and also maybe it also had to do with like the Greek influence that they were putting into things, because a lot of times they referred to themselves as empires.
Yes.
So if they were trying to westernize things instead of doing czar, moving towards emperor, but they never actually moved from czar. I don't know. It could have just been like his flavor text for it.
Yeah.
I also want to know that his like signature is literally just Peter with a period. Like, he didn't do Peter of this and that and the other thing. Nothing.
I think
Peter.
I vaguely remember hearing about that through the grapevine.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
So good. I love the sense of style that a lot of the czars bring to the table.
Yeah.
Like, they each have, like, the specific thing that they do that just makes them so uniquely them.
So I guess the period is just like, I'm stopping all this bullshit, bringing a new age of whatever the fuck this is. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, 100% actually. I'm glad that you're gathering that, because there was a lot of social reform as well. Things were more modern. They looked at science a lot more. They were looking at things more westernized.
Oh, shit.
And things were based on enlightenment at this point in time.
Hey, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I got through that in the philosophy podcast. That was cool.
So they're really hitting some more philosophical and big questions. He made a bunch of institutions that currently in the Russian government you can trace back to his reign.
That's cool.
He also founded St. Petersburg, which is huge. They used Western builders, like they hired them to come over, architects, and build it. So, like, St. Petersburg is one of the time's most Western looking and built cities that they had, because they used Westerners to make it.
That's cool.
I think so too. So they're really kind of spreading their wings at this point.
Yeah, come to our shit, build our stuff, but build it the way you want to make it.
Yeah. So he gets St. Petersburg built, and then it becomes and remains the capital of Russia until 1917. As a reminder, we're in like the 1700s right now.
Damn,
so,
we've gotten pretty far though.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
We burned some time.
Doing some work.
Yeah. The other thing that he did was he also made the first Russian university. He only made one. He should have focused more on that, it seems people feel now, looking back. But he made one, and it was the first one, so that really says something, I feel.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
One is better than nothing.
For sure. He also had a really slow, like, it was a slow run to get there, but he eventually got Russia industrialized. And by the end of the century, Russia became the biggest iron export in the world.
The Steelers.
Yeah, man.
They were the Steelers of the global world.
The global world.
There it is.
Yeah, so biggest iron export, but then it also focused around like lumber and stuff. You know, things that they had that was just pouring out of them. Trees and rocks.
Hell yeah.
But it was working for him. Peter the Great eventually became really ill. This is wild. Okay. He ends up having problems with his urinary tract and bladder, which when I was reading it was like, that's TMI, I don't need to know that. Just call it like his kidney stuff or something. You know?
Yeah.
But the story that then follows that up, I'm like, yeah, you need to know that. So in 1724, he has this surgery where doctors end up releasing more than 4 pounds of blocked urine.
Wow.
4 pounds of urine.
How long was it fucking blocked?
I don't know, a long time.
God.
I mean, it was like 2 years that he was just feeling miserable, and then they did this surgery, and just imagine, he had to have been just like his stomach had to have just been so distended. And then they removed the 4 pounds of urine, and he was on like bed rest for months.
Yeah.
To make sure that he was going to heal everything up, you know?
And this is 1700, so they still don't have, like, they're still bleeding people, right?
Like leeches and all of that weird, given one of these guys, I don't remember who it was, but one of them, the one with dropsy and all of that. Michael?
Yeah,
Michael with scurvy and dropsy and depression. They were like, here, have some diuretics and that should fix you.
Oh my God.
Shit you not. They were prescribing diuretics for like 3 months and then he finally just dies.
I'm sorry, I still just can't imagine 4 pounds of urine.
Dude.
You know what I mean? Like, I drink water all the time now, and granted, like, I have to take a piss basically every, like, couple hours or few hours or so, but I don't even, you know what I mean?
Can't even picture.
No.
How many pounds is a gallon?
How many pounds is a gallon is a good question. You know what I mean? Because I know that 1 liter translates to a kilogram. What?
Can you transfer a kilogram to a pound?
Well, I know that I can transfer 1 kilogram or 1 newton. If I had newtons of force.
Oh my God.
I got this. That's okay.
Gallons? Okay, but what about liters to kilograms? I know you want gallons to pounds, but let's talk about liters to kilograms. That's fantastic.
I'm sorry. That's how math works. That's why the metric system is superior.
I'm not saying it's not.
I'm just saying, I'm American, and I don't know what we're talking about.
I'm just saying that this was translated to pounds for me already.
Alright, how many pounds? Yeah, pounds in a gallon. Holy shit. Of course, everybody's asked this. 1 gallon. Oh my god. Wait, how? Okay, so we said 4 pounds?
More than 4 pounds of urine.
So 1 gallon is 8 pounds. So that's
half a gallon.
Half a gallon.
Urine. I'm not gonna lie, that's less than I thought it was.
It is.
That's not.
I'm sorry. That we should have just left it. I'm sorry.
That ain't shit.
It's 4 pounds.
That's nothing.
That's like a really long piss. That's
yeah.
But a really long piss in olden times, where you don't have somebody that can give you a pill or, I don't know, open up your shit.
It's like, what, a day or two's worth of urine just... Whatever, so his stomach's not distended then. And I want you to keep most of this if you can, because...
I will.
We were talking about how much that was, and we're idiots if we don't look it up and correct ourselves.
Yes.
So, here's to us looking things up. Alright, well that's not very impressive anymore, but his bladder became gangrenous in 1725. Oh right, he has the surgery and all that, and he's on bed rest, and he's like, I'm done being on bed rest.
Bro, that surgery's gotta be painful as fuck, though.
Dude! So, like, I think it was August he has the surgery, October he's like, I'm done laying around, I can't do this anymore. And he gets up and he goes, like, sailing around and checking infrastructure and things.
Oh my
like, he's
God.
like, I am going across
He's a Bernie
Russia now.
Sanders.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
I've got stuff to do. So he's limping around Russia, making sure that everything's building the way it needs to get built and all of that.
I said be with a Billy.
And then he just, like, dies out of nowhere. And they're like, you're not great. Let's check you out, though. So they do an autopsy on him, which isn't normally the case from what I can tell. But I think because they just weren't really sure how the hell he died, they were like, let's check it out. So it turned out that his bladder had become gangrenous, which is just...
That's what you get for holding in your pee.
gnarly as fuck.
He's like, I'm sorry, I really gotta go to the bathroom, but nobody else is gonna fix this shit.
I really gotta go, but I don't have the time.
God.
And his second wife, Catherine, steps into power.
Hell yeah, Catherine the Great.
And that's what gets us to Catherine the Great.
Fuck yeah.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
so stoked. You've been hyping her up for like the last like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I want to know about this.
I
want to know about it.
But yeah, so they say that Catherine the Great's reign was nearly as stupendously amazing as Peter the Great's was. So I'm pretty excited to get into it because I kind of skimmed over his stuff a little bit, but a lot of it was like military rebuilding and, you know, it's like, meh.
Well, was he Peter the Great or Peter the Period?
Ha!
Well, no, he was, okay, because I remember you saying somebody with the period. Who was the period?
Oh, yeah, he signs it, Peter.
Aha, okay.
And then a period at the end.
Okay.
Peter. That's it.
In my head, I was thinking he was Peter the Period. That's how I'm going to remember it next week.
That's great. All right, well, Peter the Great is Peter the Period.
Fuck yeah.
Sorted, settled, done. But yeah, so we'll pick up with Catherine the Great next week, and I'm pretty excited about it.
That was the shit, man. This is fucking dope.
Hell yeah. All about it. Hey, it's CatEaterr. I know at this point that we are not dropping our socials at the end of our episode, so I'm going to do it now for us. You can see my co-host, Johnny5, at I am the Johnny5 on Reddit and such places, and XXX Johnny5 XXX at Leechess. I am CatEaterr on almost everything, or the real CatEaterr, CatEaterr. I hope you guys enjoyed the show.